And that's what May has to say about love. If everybody would start coming back this way. We're going to start off this next section with two ladies who I would say are this incredible bridge. You know, there's a lot of inner work that you can do, right? We can actually talk about a lot of stuff. We can meditate to the point where we become meditators, which is, you know, kind of exciting. But a lot of the times it's the marriage of the inner work and pairing it with the outer work is sometimes that next step that we need to take. And May's taking the next step too. Okay. So these two ladies have been two people who I've been watching for a couple of years really step into the ability to help people manifest where they really want to go. Take a look at patterns, take a look at the things that are standing in their way, and really be able to give good, solid tools. Because we all really need good, solid tools in our tool belt to move forward. And these two ladies have a very kind, compassionate, and full-on way to be able to make those things in your life be able to happen. And I could talk about them for the 30 minutes that they have slotted. So instead of doing that, please put your hands together for Lorelei and Lauren, the Soul Sirens.
Thank you, Sarah and May. What an awesome way to come into being, because those first two classes, pieces of information sure got me in a great state, you know, starting with the inner. Yeah. So now we're going to take it to another level.
You look so gorgeous there with your hair blowing in the wind. This is such a lovely
I'll take that because I am a divine being.
Yes,
now,
you
right?
are. You are very divine. So, hello. We're the Soul Sirens of Seattle, and we have a radio show on KKNW at 4 p.m. on Mondays. And this is, you introduce yourself.
Okay. So we do this little shtick on the air. We say,
Yes.
you know, thanks for listening to the Soul Sirens. My name is Lauren Archer, and I'm a hypnotherapist who helps people change their energy by changing their mind.
And I'm Lorelei Spiegelman. I'm an energy healer, and I help you change your mind by changing your energy. Welcome. We're feeling a little goofy today, so I hope you can ride with that. You know, I have to tell you, last night, it was a fun Saturday night for both of us. We had different things that we did. And I went to the Ben Harper concert. And Clint was there. It was it was wonderful. The last song was so fascinating to me, though. It's the last song of the encore. He was really impressed with the way everybody in Redmond is so into singing as a group. He said, "You're just like the Europeans," and we all took that as such a high compliment. And but the last song was, he had us chanting this thing that was, "I'm not good enough for you." And I love Ben Harper, but my friends and I stopped and we looked at each other and we went, "That's not a very nice thing to say." We're going, "I'm good enough for you." And we're like affirming, "Yes, I'm good enough for you." And I realized, gosh, this is what the New Age movement is all about. It is about stepping out of the group mindset and saying, "No, wait a second. What the messages that you're saying is not necessarily the right one for me." And it was fun to be embodied with that group energy, that kind of like, oh yeah, we're all singing the same song and we're all in train and we're all happy, a little bit drunk, a little bit high, we're all okay, you know. And then there's, "I'm not good enough for you." And that is what Lauren and I are so passionate about, retraining those kinds of subtle and not so subtle messages about, you are good enough for you. I'm good enough for you. You're good enough for me. And it was just, yeah.
And we all know that on an intellectual level, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all, you know, studied and we've read and we get the concept that we are divine beings, and, you know, we know that we're supposed to understand this and walk it, but we don't always embody it because the subtle messages that we might have picked up from our childhood or from our culture or from, you know, the world around us is at a subliminal, at a subconscious level, and a lot of times those self-doubts, those fears, those misconceptions and misperceptions about who we think we are gets lodged in our bodies. And most of us are trained to kind of walk around like from the neck up, right? We're up here in our heads and we're looking at our relationships, like who said what to whom and what's going on and what do I have to do and am I good enough and what's happening? And meanwhile, our body is experiencing all kinds of sensations that we're not always processing. And so with Lorelei and I, part of the way we help people to shift into that state so that you can take what you've learned intellectually and begin to really fully embody it is practice through energy healing and hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy sounds like you're doing a lot with the head, but I actually work a lot with the body and shifting things in state. So we're going to have some fun today talking about relationships from that kind of embodiment point of view.
Right. You know, I just want to, if you take a moment even and think about how your body feels with the statement, I'm not good enough for you, and like where that sits in your body, it's not that pleasant for me. And then turn that around and say, I am wonderful. I am so amazing, and you're so amazing, and this is like an amazing moment. And the energy, even the words themselves, actually hit our bodies differently, and the energy behind the words. And that's part of what we mean, I think, by embodiment, is recognizing in our bodies how that works. And to get this started off, too, I would really like to sort of bring this together. I'd like to ask your opinion about what the embodiment of love means for you guys. I mean, I know my definition of love. I know it's based on my experiences. But is anybody brave enough to offer, like, what is the definition? Should I take, I can't walk around with this because it's not cordless.
Yeah. So just speak up. Who's got one? What does the embodiment of love mean to you?
Filled with light.
Anyone else?
To me, love and sex are really connected too, at least that kind of love. But then, French and Italian are so wonderful. They have so many different words for love, because the way I love my children is totally different than the way I love my husband. And a lot of us, I think, also have negative associations with that word. It's a very ambiguous word, and it really strikes a chord with the memory of who we are and what we've experienced that defines love for us. What has been not just defined with words, but how it has been enacted. How have your parents loved you? What did you learn about love from that? And from that place, who are you expecting to love you back based on who you are in love? Can you articulate that a little bit better?
Sure. Let me take a shot at it. Well, one of the things, when I do relationship work, one of the things I'm always struck by is when people have their lists, right? If you want to attract a relationship, they have their lists. And it's like, oh, there has to be this kind of person and, these kinds of things we're going to be doing, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all well and good. A lot of the law of attraction information out there says you need to clearly define what it is you want. But how many people actually shift it around the other way and say, well, who am I inside? It's not about what the other person is or how they show up, per se, because ultimately you're a soul, right? You're born into this world alone. You die alone, depending on what your belief system is on other beings and other levels. But, that's what I'm saying, alone. But and you journey through this path with other people. And ultimately, it's about your soul and the expansion of your soul. So when you think about relationships, I always like to ask people to come back to themselves and ask the question, what part of your soul wants to come out and play? Who can you be in an intimate relationship that's different than who you would be in another kind of relationship? And you can use that information to embody that person. And here's the funny part, it's a paradox, right? Because once you do, you don't really need the relationship because you've already got it, right? You get into that state where you're so filled with love and light that you have everything that you need and you're complete. And so it's paradoxical because there's no empty spaces, there's no need. But the beauty of it is when you get to that space, I think it was either Sarah or Mara who said, all of a sudden everybody's going to be falling in love with you, right? You're going to have all these people around because you're already there, you're embodying it. And quickly, I just want to point out, we passed out some handouts, and the picture on the bottom kind of is our attempt to describe that state of wholeness, so you are a whole being, of course, as we all know. And what's in the middle there is a little electrical charge, right? So you have your own electrical energy, and everything's always in motion. And the little gears on the outside are, you could maybe think of them as your chakras or your energy field, things that are in motion. And you're generating energy, and you're receiving and giving energy. And we all have this capacity to give and a capacity to receive. And the capacity can be expanded and grown based upon some of the work that you do energetically and spiritually and so forth. So I could keep going, but I feel like it's time for you to jump in.
I love about this is because this is, as an energy healer, you do feel those little vibrational, it is like spokes almost that are cogging around your body that are reflecting who you are. And so when you think about who you want to be with, I would suggest that you ask yourself, are you the person that you want to date? Because the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks sort of coined that, and I love that, though, because it's true. Like attracts like. And whatever you're radiating out is what is going to be drawn to you, and you're going to be drawn to that. So
but don't let it scare you, because, we all have little places that could use some fixing.
Yeah, like this
and
one is,
repair.
we didn't quite get the cogs right in this, and I thought, actually, this is kind of perfect because people's energy fields are kind of like that, too. It's like sometimes, in the shamanic traditions, you have the soul retrieval work. I'm like, oh, this person needs some soul retrieval work right there in that cog.
Well, and that's another great thing about relationships, right, is because they help us mirror where we are.
Yeah.
So we can look at the relationships in our lives and go, well, here's an example. Let's say you're single and you're wanting to attract, a love relationship, and then somebody comes into your life and things are mostly good, right? But there may be, some things that are just a little out of whack. That's the time to come back to the drawing board and go back to this wheel and go, okay, what's not quite in alignment with this other person? Okay, let me take that back to myself and go, all right, what's not, what is it in me that is out of alignment perhaps in that area? Let me go back to the drawing board, reframe, kind of put things back together, and then move back on and attract a different kind of relationship.
What I'm thinking about is, I don't know if any of you have, if you've been married and been through marriage counseling. I have. I've been, I've been through that, and I have to tell you, the most annoying thing about that experience was that my husband, doggone it, he had the same issues with me that I had with him. And I remember thinking, no, that's my complaint about you. You can't have that one about me. And it really struck home that, we are actually perfect reflections of each other. And at that point in time, we were not appreciating the reflections that we were giving back of each other. And so you got to go back to the drawing board and just fix yourself first. And then a lot of times when you've tweaked that little piece inside of you, that, fix that little cog in your energetic field, the stuff that the other person was doing really doesn't bother you so much anymore, because it's not one of your sore spots. It's been healed. I mean, usually there's another one to show up, and it's a process. It's an eternal process. Yeah. It never, ever ends. Sometimes it gets kind of fun, and sometimes you go, oh, my goodness.
So the other picture on the handout is two cogs, and we did one pink and one blue. Could be representing of masculine and feminine. And of course, we all have polarities, and the negative is attracted to the positive to the negative. But the notion of those cogs, and how they work together is interesting. And we're going to do a little guided journey to invite you to step into the embodiment of your ideal relationship in a little bit. And But I want to bring it back to purpose, because when you bring two together, right, there's movement, there's energy, and you're creating a different, kind of a third entity. Those two wheels, with the gears are forming some new energy and a new kind of relationship. And so what purpose will it serve your soul? What is it that you really want the relationship to do for you? And that's going to color the quality and the texture of how you envision that.
And if you're not consciously aware of it, don't worry. It'll happen anyway. It'll just be this unconscious whirlwind. It's like, whoa. The most perfect soulmate is the most perfect teacher. And the teacher usually challenges the students to become more than they were before. We don't want to just go through life with this, well, I don't know, maybe some of us do. Most of us want to be here to evolve and to grow beyond who we are. And it is wonderful to have a companion for that journey. And it's totally, I think, an acceptable ride to want to experience that with somebody. It's a really tough thing, isn't it, to maintain your vibrational frequency, the essence of who you are, who you want to be in your relationships. When you're resonating and empathizing with everybody around you, it could be, the cogs influence each other, don't they? Mm-hmm. They really do. So how enmeshed you are with somebody is how tightly cogged together we are. So, you might find it useful to stand within that power of your own self and your own body and realize, who am I, so that I can see and make room for who are you. You can receive that. Because that's another big part of it is the receiving, not just the giving, not just the defining, but can you let it in? Can you allow for somebody to see everything about who you are?
So we're going to go through a little guided journey and invite you to play with that. And while I'm doing that, I'll be guiding the words. And what will you be doing?
I'm going to meditate while she talks. This is her expertise. Mine is in the inner planes of silence. I've been meditating since I was 17, which makes it like I'm 46 now. It's a long time.
So you're kind of you're holding the energetic
I'm holding
space.
The space. I get to chill out.
Yeah.
But before we do that, because we have a little bit of time, do you want to talk about what it is you're going to be describing? Because the archetype.
Right.
What is an archetype?
Go for it.
Can I?
Yes, please.
She's going to be doing all the talking here pretty soon, and I'm really going to shut up. But there was this great TV show that my son put on. He's 10 years old. He's really into baseball and football, and it's called The Perfect Game. And it was a sweet movie about this team in Mexico that decided, this coach thought it would be fun. Actually, he wasn't even a coach yet, but he wanted to coach a baseball team, so he gathered the most talented Mexican boys that he could find. This is from Monterrey, and it's a true story. And they wanted to go down and do the World Series, the Little League World Series. And this team had never really played baseball before. And these guys, they were short. And the Americans are like 2 feet taller. But these guys won the Little League World Series. And I think part of that could be attributed to the way the coach helped the baseball players become who they are. He had them embody the players of the Brooklyn Dodgers. So each one of them was assigned an archetype of this amazing baseball player, and they so fully believed and embodied that it worked. It became them. So my husband will say to me sometimes, but this is a fantasy. This isn't reality. Is this really where we want to go with this? And I'm going to suggest that, because it's the energy behind the fantasy that we're going for.
Well, and that's the proper use of art and aesthetics, is to inspire us to be greater than we are in our ordinary state, right? It's to the artists and the musicians of the world, create this wonderful work that touches something deep inside of us that causes us to aspire to expand. So when we use that imagery, we can use it with purpose to expand, to be better than we are right now, or to, let me rephrase that, to step into the greatness that we already are, but we forget that we are. So using archetypal imagery is what we're going to do here. And another thing, music is fantastic. So if you have, if there are love songs or pieces of music that inspire you to fully embody that state, I would suggest listen to it all the time, because you're literally tuning your vibration to a particular frequency that will allow you to embody the kind of person you want to be a little bit more.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to go through some steps. We're going to invite you to imagine the archetype of you, so your fantasy self. We're using the word fantasy, but if you could pick an archetype of the greatest, highest expression of who you are, think about mythology, think about gods and goddesses, or great motion pictures or superheroes. I mean, it could be anything. It could be a composite of several different images. It could be a guru or a person that you really respect. Anything that comes to mind that causes you to stretch beyond where you may be right now and step into the fullness of what you'd like to embody. So that'll be the first step. You want to take the second one?
Then we're going to be having you imagine the archetypal lover for yourself. So archetypical, is that the archetype of your lover? So again, it can be a mythological person, but we're really going for the essence of it, the energy of it. And it does not matter how fantastical it is. It should be impossible even. Something so amazing that you can't help but just love the feeling of it in yourself and in that other person.
Okay, then we're going to imagine bringing them together. So allowing yourself to give and receive, a lot like what Sarah was doing with her meditation, which was very fun. And in this case, I invite you to get a sense of the kind of energy it creates in your body. What changes happen in your body? So, play with the fantasy, but allow yourself to notice what's happening in your heart. We can actually measure the neurophysiological changes in the body. The Institute of Heart Math is one of the pioneers in this field. There's lots of others out there, but we can see the changes in our heart rate moving from a chaotic to a coherent wave pattern. It changes our immune system response. It raises our IgA levels. It shifts our cortisol DHEA balance, so it lowers the stress hormone cortisol and actually raises DHEA, which is an anti-aging hormone, because the brain doesn't know the difference between a real memory and a created memory. So giving yourself permission to do this and then noticing the changes in your body actually does make change. And then the step after that, and this is where it becomes really wonderful and magical and this becomes part of your practice, is to memorize that. So to notice, so you create the changes in your body through this wonderful imagery. Notice the sensations in your physical body. So not just the patterns in your head, not just what you're thinking, but how you're feeling. And then memorize those patterns so that you can step into that state more and more often through the day.
Yeah, I like that. So while Lauren is going to be walking us through this, and you're going to love her voice, allow yourself to release your energy and your mind, body, heart, and soul to the alignment of this lovely experience and to ride with it. And notice what happens and just enjoy it. And we're all in training right here. And I mean that in a different sense, that in training in that molecules of light become entrained to each other when one particle affects another particle. So for this moment, we're entrained. We're affecting each other and loving each other and loving the experience that Lauren is going to walk us through. Okay.
Okay, so I invite you to turn your attention inward now, inward to yourself. And if you're comfortable, go ahead and let your eyes close. And as you follow the sound of my voice, you can ignore any distracting sounds, or perhaps even allowing them to help you relax more deeply. And these few moments that you take for yourself right now, maybe some of the most important moments of your day, because you are accessing the part of your consciousness that already knows how to shift and change your frequency, how to rearrange the neural pathways in your brain, and how to create and fully embody the highest and the grandest version of yourself, bringing it into full expression more and more every day. And so I invite you to direct your attention to the area around your heart. And take some smooth and even breaths. Imagine that you can breathe gently and easily right in and through your heart center. And perhaps recalling a time where you felt so good, so wonderful, a moment where you felt that connection with yourself, and breathing those good feelings right back in and through your heart center. Filling yourself with love, with hope, with possibility. Perhaps even imagining that space around your heart filling and expanding. And from this place, I invite you to get a sense of the archetypal you, your fantasy self, the person you would be if you could be anyone. Notice whatever imagery is coming to your mind's eye. Notice what sensations are beginning to filter through your body. Allowing these images and feelings to get bigger, brighter, clearer. Stepping completely in now, becoming one with this archetypal image of yourself. There is a principle in psychology that if there is someone who has qualities we admire them because they are already in existence within us. So these wonderful qualities, these traits, these aspects of your highest ideal self already exist within you. And so I invite you to allow yourself to give them full expression right now and notice the way it feels in your body. That's right, you're doing it right now. It's happening. And as you fully embody this wonderful aspect, this archetypal image of yourself, let's take a moment now to allow your imagination to develop a sense of your ideal love. You may or may not see images. But whatever sense you have of that quality of being that you would like to play with, to dance with, to express with. What parts within you want to come out and play? And in what ways do you want to play and express and enjoy another being? Noticing the qualities that you admire in that person, the values, the virtues. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to allow these two archetypes to come together, giving yourself permission to both give and receive. So whenever you're ready, like the positive and the negative, the poles of energy, like two magnets coming together, like the charged particles in a storm, bringing those two archetypes together and allowing their energy to blend and to play and to create and to merge inside of you. And as this alchemical process happens throughout your being, notice any shifts, any changes in your physiology. Notice where in your body you're sensing things. And allow yourself to memorize this pattern because it already exists within you. You already embody the masculine, the feminine, the light and the dark, the positive and the negative, and all of the energy that that creates. And I invite you to get a sense of the quality of that energy and what purpose it serves in your life. What is it that your soul wants to bring to the world and express with this energy? What kind of influence do you desire to affect? In what ways is your soul learning and growing and expanding by giving yourself permission to be the fullest expression of who you are? As these images and feelings continue to trickle through the layers of your consciousness, I invite you to notice that at this moment, something deep and powerful has already shifted inside of you. Your mind and body have received perhaps subtle, perhaps profound layers of wisdom and insight about who you are and what you bring to the world. The neural pathways in your brain have created new patterns that will allow you to more fully embody this expression each and every day. And so before we come back to full consciousness, I invite you to take a mental snapshot, a holographic image of the qualities that you've just experienced, so that in the days and weeks to come, this image can grow stronger and you can fully embody it, no matter what's going on around you, no matter what other people are saying or doing, no matter what's happening out there inside of you. You already embody this wonderful energy, and you are attracting into your world the right people, situations, and opportunities that will allow you to express it fully and freely. So taking that mental snapshot, holding it in your heart, taking a nice gentle breath back in and through your heart center, coming back into this present time and space, radiating that energy, that light, that love that you are. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you, Lauren. That was good. So, thank you for journeying with us. And just to let you know, the information about us is back there on the table. So if you'd like to experience some energy healing or hypnotherapy, it's a really fun way to sort of hit the reset button and shift yourself into a new version of who you are. And we're going to be putting a workshop on this fall. I'm not sure of the date exactly, but it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to be given a lot of tools on how to stay connected to your body, how to embody who you are, the highest version of yourself. And how you'll be walking away with a whole bunch of real physical, tangible reminders that you can use throughout the day to get you back to that place where you remember who you are. So thank you.
Yeah, remember, some of the greatest athletes in the world use these principles because they work. They're the highest paid athletes, so they get all the psychologists and all the teams together to figure out, okay, how do we help people achieve this peak performance state, right? So I'm trained in a lot of that stuff, and that's what I use with my clients, and it really works. It's very fun. And then Lorelei helps you tune your field, and it's just juicy. It's better than a massage, I think. I love energy healing. So we are on Facebook, Soul Sirens of Seattle. Come check us out. Radio show, once again, is on Mondays at 4 o'clock on KKNW. Thank you all for taking time out of your Sunday to come play with us, and we hope you had fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we're going to take just a 5-minute break and get ready for the next speaker. So please stretch your legs, grab something to drink, and connect in with Lauren or Lorelei. And all of their information is over on that same table, and we'll see you in just a minute. And we will be back in 5 minutes. Hello, sunshine. Oh, well, hello. Hello. I would like to invite everybody back, and so that we can start our last but quite brilliant end cap to this afternoon. So the next person, I have to say, is quite a brave gentleman, because he's been sharing the stage with us. And when I first met our next speaker, it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and he had come in and he had talked about wanting to do a communication class, and I was like, oh, okay. And this was in our old location, and actually at first he was wearing this great nun shirt on a motorcycle, and I was like, this is the man who I just want to hang out with and have a cup of coffee, and whatever he's got to say, I'm totally wide ear. And so over the last years, I've gotten a chance to work with him in a couple different classes in different capacities, and I've always been quite amazed at his ability to be present to a conversation. And I don't know about you, but in my relationships, many of them, especially what my mom has said, that being able to listen and have clear communication seems to be very helpful. And so Richard is, who's our next speaker, is an impeccable human being who has this incredible tool belt surrounding communications. So I'm going to stop gushing, and I would like to welcome my dear friend Richard Smith to the stage.
He's still my beating heart. How do I follow that? There's a microphone here. Is that working okay? Cool. One of the tools that came to me very late in life was the ability to learn how to listen. I was sharing before that my motto used to be 1 picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'm going to give you both. And my relationships didn't work, really. And so the things I've learned in my life, I've learned by doing them the wrong way first. And I am a dyed-in-the-wool experiential learner. So if nothing else, you've sent a scout ahead. I met a pretty amazing human being about 10 or 12 years ago, and I ended up going to work for him. And we work with some very challenging, developmentally delayed people who can be very assaultive. And one of the greatest tools we learned was how to interact with them when they're going through a tough time. And I realized that same skill is so valuable in our relationships. So hopefully we're going to get to play with this a little bit today. And what we call it is, we just call it validation. And really what it's all about is the ability to just be there and witness with another person that you care about. So I'm going to assume that we all really care and love the people that are in our lives, our children, our partners, our coworkers, the people who work for us, that the gift in their being in our lives is that ability to connect with so many different human beings. And sometimes in our relationships, people are having a tough time. And when they come to us and start talking about that, and this is like a question for you folks, so by a show of hands, who kind of goes to a solution? Trying to help them find a solution. Okay. How about trying to understand? And why do you think we do that? We care. I mean, our intentions are amazingly honorable. I think what happens in there, though, is if we go to that place, we miss an opportunity. We miss that opportunity to connect with them on a much deeper level, which says, I see what's going on for you and I hear you. And that's it. Because the truth is, I don't understand. I'm not in their shoes. I don't. I'm not walking their walk. And I really don't know what their solution is. And if you listen to what all these lovely ladies were saying today, they already know what their solution is. It's in there. My job is to sort of get out of the way and help and let them find it. So there's a language kind of associated with this thing we call validation. And it's simple, and it can feel contrived, and it can feel kind of scripted because in the beginning it is, because it's not something we're taught for the most part out in the world when people are, when we're learning about relationship. I was sharing before that one of the reasons I go to solution or I go to understanding is because I want to fix it. And even though I have a very, very, thank you. Yes, I know you do. This is so weird. Yeah, that'll do.
Okay.
There was a very selfish reason. And that reason was I was uncomfortable with you being uncomfortable. If I can help you feel better, then I would feel better. But that was the truth. That was my truth. That's one of the reasons, as a parent, we love our kids and we don't want to see them suffer. And yet, that's kind of part of the learning process. So, let's see. I'd like you, if you're willing to find somebody to pair up with and work with for a few minutes. We're gonna play this game called validation for a while. Gonna do a little practice. That's okay. So if you don't know this person, introduce yourselves and sort of say hi and get comfy. And then I'd like you to, person A and person B. So who's going to be person A? Okay. So person A, you're going to be the listener. And person B, now keep in mind that you're going to switch after a while and do this on both sides. What I want you to do, person B, or the person who's going to be talking right now, is think of a time that you were going through a tough time in your life. And think of a time when you were going through that time when you really felt nobody heard you. Can you kind of wrap your heads around that a little bit? Okay. Person A, who is the listener, when person B begins to talk, you can say one of 3 or 4 things. One of them can be, I see you're having a tough time. Or, wow, I hear you. Or my favorite, which was taught to me by one of my clients. Boy, that really sucks. Just remember that the job is to hear, not understand, not try to figure out a solution. You're there just to witness what's happening, to let that person know that you actually hear what's going on. And it might be, boy, I see you're really uncomfortable with that. but play with it a little bit. Have some fun with it. And just look inside and find out what comes to you, because it's in there. So when you're ready, go for it. Okay, bring that to a close when you can. Not yet, but that's my next instruction. So when, when you're ready, switch partners and have another run at it. righty then. So bring that to a close. Thank your partner. Thank you, partner. So what did you notice while participating in that thing? You know, it's kind of a strange little exercise to play with. Yes. Anybody else have that experience? Yeah. It's our nature. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just that there's a time for that. And sometimes there's not a time for that. In almost every survey that they've done over the years about what makes you experience feeling loved, it's to be seen and heard by another human being. The rest of the stuff is fluff. You know, the I love yous and the gifts and the wonderful dates and the cards and flowers and all that stuff, they're marvelous. But almost 100% of the time, the answer's been to be seen and heard by another human being. How many of you have experienced as a child you're out in the playground or out playing or something and you have a fight with your best friend and you run in the house to tell your mom or dad and they're busy doing something? And you're like, Mom, Dad, I hit Billy with a bat. And they go like, oh my God, what are his parents going to think? Or whatever that stuff is. And at that moment in time, we make a decision about that. And that might be that nobody wants to listen to me, or I don't have anything important to say. And I think our job, if we're going to heal the planet, is to start listening to each other, to really hear what we have to say, and to get out of our heads about it and come from this place, which we've been talking about all day. This is where relationship happens. One of my favorite sayings is you have to be out of your head to be in a relationship. Got to be out of your mind. It's true. I want to share with you a quote I found some years ago. There are copies of this out on the table if you haven't already picked one up. It's called Please Just Listen. When I ask you to listen to me and you start giving advice, you have not done what I asked. When I ask you to listen to me and you begin to tell me why I shouldn't feel that way, you're trampling on my feelings. When I ask you to listen to me and you feel you have to solve my problems, you have failed me, as strange as that may seem. Listen. All I asked was that you listen, not talk or do, just hear. Advice is cheap. 75 cents will get me both Dear Abby and Billy Graham in the same newspaper, and I can do it myself. I'm not helpless. When you do something that I can do for myself, you contribute to my fear and inadequacy. But when you accept as simple fact that I do feel, no matter how irrational, then I quit trying to convince you and get about the business of understanding what's behind my irrational feelings. And when that's clear, the answers are obvious and I don't need advice. Irrational feelings make sense when you understand what's behind them. So please listen and just hear me. And if you want to talk, wait a minute for your turn, and I'll listen to you. The reason I started doing what I do is that I was the kid on the playground that was like the intermediary, trying to break up the fights, trying to help people get along. I've been fascinated and privileged to be able to share life with so many amazing human beings that I learned so much from. And what I learned from each one of them is the fact that we're supposed to be working together. That's it. It's about community. And what stands in the way of community, I think, is what you've all been talking about today, is not accessing that person inside. When I started Human Craft, which was my business years ago, it took me 6 months to come up with a vision statement that said what I wanted it to say. And my vision statement was that my job is to assist people in recognizing and experiencing their own magnificence. That's it. I'm still working on it. Gets a little better every day, and sometimes I take a few steps backwards. But that's the humanity of it. It's called Human Craft, the craft of being human. There's all sorts of promotional stuff out there on the table, and you can read all of that. I just want to spend some time with you, because that's the joy in this for me. Thank you. I don't have a set program. I don't have a set script when I work with my clients, because I don't know who you are and what you want. My job is to be here for you. So I get to make it up on the fly. So I guess I want to know, did you get what you came for today? Are you going to go home with something fun to play with when you go home? Cool. That's excellent. Today was all about love. And about 20 years ago, I was taking money out of an ATM machine, and I looked down on the ground, and there was this beat-up little business card size thing. And on it was this. And it said, "Love is an energy that is manifested by a commitment and a will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's total growth." And that kind of went clunk for me, and I hung on to it and been carrying it around ever since. And if you want, there's copies out there for you, suitable for framing. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given me to come up and play and do what I do, and this little bit of time I got to spend with you, and especially to thank SoulFood for creating the space to do this. And I'm out of here.
This is my favorite chair, so I'm going to sit and finish out the night in the director's chair. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming today and for being a part of this this experience of walking down just one of the several avenues of love. And it's such a core fundamental of what we hold here at SoulFood. To be able to have a whole afternoon devoted to it makes me do a dance, because it's brilliant, and it's such a short life not to dance. So once again, if you would like to get any information about the speakers who have been here today or haven't been here today, it's on that table right over there with the really nice Indian print on there. And then also we have a directory, and if you were to go to soultribetv.com, you will find everybody's information on here. In fact, there is a blog up by Lauren, and then our next person is Lorelei, but I'm not putting it out yet because it's brilliant and I just want their suspense. But and you can find their information, links to their sites, and there's also a lot of other practitioners that are in there, and it's just a way for our community to connect. And once again, thank you for being vulnerable, and thank you for showing up and being present and being your badass selves. It's just really nice to have you here. And we'll be doing the speaker series. Our goal is to every other month, and they'll be on different topics. And so just look out for our newsletter. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can just go, actually the easiest way to do it is soulfoodbooks.com, and there's a little newsletter button that you can push on there and it'll get in there. And so thank you once again for being spectacular and being here today.